Good morning, my dear student friends. Today we will discuss about pollination. Pollination. Already definition I have told you. Pollination means transfer of pollen grain. But before going to pollination, we have to discuss about. Recall, not discuss. Already you have discussed the flower, type of flower. In the very first class, we have discussed type of flower. Flowers are categorized into two groups. One is bisexual or a hermaphrodite flower, another is unisexual. Unisexual or imperfect. Bisexual or perfect, another is unisexual or imperfect. And unisexual flowers are again two types. Unisexual flower not contain both stamen and carpel. Here bisexual means contain both stamen and carpel. Already we have discussed. Unisexual flower missing either stamen or carpel means contain either stamen. If stamen is present, carpel absent. If carpel is present, stamen absent. So that's why unisexual flower are two types. Staminate if only stamen present, pistillate if only pistil or carpel present. So staminate and pistillate are two types of unisexual flower. But important thing here we have to discuss this unisexual flower present in a plant, and according to unisexual flower type and the number of unisexual flower present, plants are categorized into two groups. Plants are two types. Plants are categorized into two groups with respect to unisexual flower. With respect to unisexual flower, plants are two types. Number one is called monoecious. Monoecious plant. Another second is called as a dioecious. So with respect to presence of unisexual, there is two type of plant, monoecious and dioecious. So we will discuss about this monoecious and dioecious in detail, because maximum question comes from this part. So listen carefully. What is monoecious? Mono means single, di means two different. So what is the meaning of monoecious? Both contain this unisexual flower, staminate and pistillate. But what is monoecious? This is one plant and these are the branches of the plant. Branches. Already we have discussed unisexual flower present. In this branch there is a unisexual. Unisexual means staminate. Staminate. In the upper branch there is a staminate flower. Staminate means male. Only stamens are present. It is a male flower. Similarly, in the lower branch, in the lower branch there is only pistillate flower. Pistillate. Pistillate means female flower. So two flowers are present. In this case, the staminate flower in the upper branch and a pistillate flower in the lower branch. So staminate and a pistillate flower found in the single plant. When both male and female unisexual flower, male and female unisexual flower, both are unisexual. This is unisexual and this is also unisexual. When both male and female unisexual flower present in a single plant, not flower. Flowers are different. This is male, this is female, but two different flower present in single plant. Mono. So that's why monoecious. Plant is monoecious. Flower is not monoecious. So what is the meaning of monoecious or definition of monoecious plant? You have to remember, if both male and female unisexual flower present in a single plant, means flower are unisexual but plant is bisexual. Plant is bisexual. Flower is uni. This is male. This is only female. But these two are present in single, so make the plant bisexual. So if a flower are unisexual but plant is bisexual, that is called monoecious. Now come to dioecious. What is dioecious? It is clearly understandable. Two different. Di means two. This is a plant. These are the branches. And this is another plant. These are the branches. In this plant, only staminate flowers are present. Stamen. This is staminate. Lower flower is also staminate. So in this case, you find one plant contain only one sex, and in this plant, in this plant there is pistillate flower. In this plant there is pistillate flower. So staminate and pistillate flowers are found in two separate plants. When male and female flowers, male and female unisexual flowers are found in two separate plants, two different, that means different. When male and female unisexual flowers are present in two separate plants, that is called dioecious. When male and female unisexual flowers are present in single plant, that is called monoecious. So that's why you can say flowers are unisexual, any type, monoecious or dioecious. In both, flowers are unisexual, but unisexual flowers make the plant bisexual. But here, the flower is unisexual, plant is also unisexual, because this plant is only male, upper is male, lower is male. Similarly, this plant is only female. So male female flowers found in separate plant. In dioecious, male female staminate pistillate flowers found in single plant, that type of plant is called monoecious. Important examples are important. This difference can come, right? Difference between monoecious and dioecious. Example of monoecious always starts with C and M. CM, monoecious. Castor, coconut, cucurbits, maize. So C and M, only C and M letters can start the monoecious plants. Similarly, if you come to dioecious, example of dioecious, two important. One is papaya and another is dead palm. Very important. Papaya and dead palm, frequently asked question in NEET. The dioecious plants are papaya and dead palm. So this completes your types of plant with respect to unisexual. So monoecious and dioecious term only used in case of unisexual, not in bisexual. Bisexual flower containing plants are not classified. They are bisexual from the beginning. But unisexual flowers containing plants are two types. Monoecious, it can be monoecious or dioecious. Now we will move towards the pollination. What is pollination? Pollination is nothing, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma. Transfer of pollen grain, because already we have discussed the male sex organ is stamen in case of plants, and the female sex organ is carpel or pistil, and the pollen grains are produced inside the stamen and transferred to the carpel, or pistil. This is the stamen, and inside the stamen pollen grains are produced. After formation of pollen grain, the anther wall rupture. Already we have discussed this. Upper part is called anther and the lower part is called filament. Pollen grains are produced inside anther and these are released, and with the help of air or water or animal, these three things can transfer. With the help of air current they can be transported, with the help of water current they can be transported, or animal can take away. So by these three things they can reach at the stigma. Already we have discussed, stigma is the landing platform for pollen grain, and after reaching at the stigma, post-pollination development takes place. Already we have discussed. So due to that we have written post-pollination, means after pollination. So pollination is nothing, the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is called pollination. But this transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma takes place in a single flower or two different flowers. Because in bisexual flower both stamen and carpel are present. If flower is bisexual, then in a single flower the two things takes place. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma takes place in a single flower if it is bisexual. But if it is unisexual, in one flower this stamen is present, staminate, and this is pistillate, then two different flowers are involved. So that's why pollination can take place in a single flower. It can also take place between two different flowers. It can take place in a single plant. It can take place between two different plants also. So one by one we will discuss the classification of pollination. Now come to pollination, different types of pollination. Pollination is categorized into two types. There are two types of pollination. One is called self-pollination, another is called cross-pollination. What is the main difference? Sometimes difference comes, right? The difference between self and cross-pollination. When pollination takes place in a single plant, only one plant is involved. If only one plant, not flower, if only one plant is involved, that is called self-pollination in a single plant or same plant. When two different plants are involved, two different plants are involved in pollination, that is called as a cross-pollination. So in detail we will discuss. First come to self-pollination. It takes place in a single plant. Now I will show single plant first. This is a plant. These are the branches of the plant. This is another plant, because for cross-pollination we have to show two different plants. These are the branches. Let there is a bisexual flower. Bisexual flower means contains sepal, petal, stamen, and this one is called carpel or pistil. Okay. So upper branch contain one bisexual. Similarly, in the lower side, I am showing another flower, maybe bisexual or unisexual. I am showing unisexual here in the lower side. Let it is a female flower, pistillate. Pistil is present. Okay. Similarly, here I can show another flower. Let unisexual again, and this is the female flower. Now we will discuss different type of pollination. Actually, pollination is categorized into different types. These two types on the basis of probability, possibility. What are the possibility of pollination? Pollination, first possibility, pollination can take place in a single plant. In this plant, pollination takes place. When pollination is restricted to only one plant, self to different plant, that is cross. For example, we will start pollination from this. This is the stamen and this is the anther. Pollen grain are produced inside this. After production of pollen grain, what are the chance? Pollen grain reach at the stigma. First chance. After production of pollen grain, as the flower is bisexual, this is a bisexual flower, the pollen grain can reach at the stigma of same flower. First condition. Number one condition. The pollen grain after formation can reach at the stigma of the same flower. This is one condition. Another condition, the pollen grain produced from this flower can reach to the stigma of another flower but in the same plant. These two conditions possible in this single plant. We are discussing about single plant first, self-pollination. So self-pollination I have shown two chance, no other chance. Similarly you can show from lower to upper, but only one by one we can understand clearly. So one flower can transfer pollen grain to its same flower, to the same flower. One flower can transfer to another flower but in one plant. Both are called self-pollination. So that's why scientists divided the self-pollination into two types again. So we have discussed self-pollination in single plant. Both are occurring in a single plant. But one is in a single flower, another is in two different flowers. So that's why self-pollination are two types. So first one tell, in self-pollination, in first self-pollination, pollen grains released by the anther reach at the stigma of same flower. This type of self-pollination is called autogamy. Direct question comes, 1 mark question, very important. So what is autogamy? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower. If flower is the same, what is the doubt? It is same plant. There is no doubt about same plant. If same flower, the plant also same. So that's why autogamy is the transfer of pollen grain from anther of a flower to stigma of same flower. But another type of self-pollination, what I have shown here, there is a transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of another flower, but born in the same plant. When it takes place between two different flowers but same plant, this type of pollination is called as a zaitonogamy. Zaitonogamy. So self-pollination are of two types. One is autogamy, another is zaitonogamy. So definition you should remember, and it is very clear. Nothing to memorize, only understand the concept. First, autogamy. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower is autogamy. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of another flower, but born in the same plant. So zaitonogamy takes place between two different flower but same plant. Here I have not written same plant. Same flower means same plant. No need to write here same plant. But here two different flowers, same plant. This definition frequently asked. When two different plant, different flower but same plant, that is called zetonogamy. So what is the difference? If someone asks you, write the difference between autogamy and zetonogamy. Both are self-pollination, but what is the main difference? First difference, autogamy takes place in a single flower, but here two different flowers are involved. First difference. And autogamy takes place in a single flower. Same flower means single flower, only one flower is involved. Here two different flowers are involved. Another difference, for this autogamy, as there is a transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower, means a stamen and a carpel both are present, so that's why it should be bisexual. So autogamy only takes place in bisexual, cannot occur in unisexual. Unisexual flower cannot show. If a flower is unisexual, you cannot imagine about autogamy. So autogamy only takes place in bisexual, so that's why I have shown this diagram as a bisexual. Autogamy cannot take place in unisexual flower. As it cannot take place in unisexual flower, now I can say monoecious and dioecious plant also cannot show this type of pollination. Monoecious, because what is monoecious and dioecious already we have discussed. Monoecious, unisexual flowers present in the same plant, unisexual flower found in separate plant, dioecious. So monoecious and dioecious plant also cannot show autogamy. But if you come to zetonogamy, zetonogamy takes place between two different flowers of same plant. Now tell me, the zetonogamy can take place in bisexual or only in unisexual? Now I am writing bisexual and unisexual. In which case it takes place only in bisexual or only in unisexual or both? First example, let zetonogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of another flower. This is bisexual. This is bisexual. Let imagine another bisexual is present here. And from this bisexual to another bisexual, pollen grain can be transferred, because it is not necessary. If it is bisexual, pollen grain always reach. Pollen grain can transfer to another flower also. Here I have shown bisexual. A bisexual, it is not mandatory for a bisexual that always their pollen grain will reach in that. It can be transferred to another. So here I have shown a bisexual, here I have shown unisexual. So zetonogamy takes place between bisexual, between unisexual also. If unisexual is present, let imagine here only unisexual, delete the female part. Now let female part is absent, only male is present. So from this male to female it can be transferred. This is zetonogamy. Or imagine two bisexual, this is a bisexual, another bisexual, made stamen here. So here also, from this bisexual male to this bisexual female, one bisexual male can transfer pollen grain to another bisexual female. So like that. So zetonogamy takes place in both bisexual and unisexual. But important thing, in unisexual two plants comes. Already we have discussed here. There is two types, monoecious, another is dioecious. Now tell me, out of these two, in which case zetonogamy can occur and in which case zetonogamy cannot occur? The definition of zetonogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther of a flower to stigma of two different flower, another flower of same plant. Same plant means a single plant, and a single plant means monoecious. So that's why zetonogamy only takes place in monoecious. There is no chance of dioecious. So this is most important difference between autogamy and zetonogamy. Autogamy cannot occur in monoecious and dioecious. In unisexual it cannot occur, but zetonogamy can take place in unisexual and only monoecious can show. Dioecious cannot show because dioecious means two separate plant. It is present in two separate plant. So dioecious plant cannot show zetonogamy. Clear? So this is all about your self-pollination. Two type of self-pollination complete, autogamy and zetonogamy. But what is cross-pollination? Cross-pollination is nothing. Transfer of pollen grain from anther of a flower to stigma of another flower born in another plant or a different plant. So that's why we have written here. Two different plant are involved. If a plant are different, flower are obviously different. So here in first self-pollination we have discussed there is a single plant, but in single plant there is two conditions. One flower or different flower. If one flower autogamy, if different flower are involved zetonogamy. If two different plants are involved, that is called cross pollination. It is also called as a genogamy. Cross pollination also called as a genogamy or allogamy. So that's why three different pollination we have discussed. Transfer of pollen grain from anther of a flower to stigma of same flower, autogamy. It takes place in a single flower. Flower is bisexual. Transfer of pollen grain from anther of a flower to stigma of another flower but born in same plant, that is called as a getonogamy. It takes place in both bisexual and unisexual but in same plant, only in monoecious. But what is genogamy? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of different flower born in different plant. It is genogamy. So what is the characteristic of genogamy? First, it takes place in both bisexual as well as unisexual. Bisexual as well as unisexual. How? Already you have discussed. Just like a getonogamy can take place between bisexual and unisexual, it can take place between two bisexual. Let here one bisexual and made it bisexual. It is unisexual. Female is present. Now at male part. Now from this bisexual's male, pollen grain can transfer to this bisexual's female. So it can take place between two bisexual. Similarly, you can make unisexual. It is unisexual. This is female. Now you can delete this female part and make it male, only male. So from this male to this female also it can be transferred. So it takes place between two unisexual also. So both bisexual and unisexual. So that's why you have to remember what is the difference among these three. Autogamy only in bisexual, getonogamy bisexual, unisexual, but unisexual is only monoecious. But this genogamy or cross pollination takes place in bisexual as well as unisexual. But in unisexual, two types, monoecious and dioecious. Now tell me in which plant it occurs. Monoecious means single. Male and female are found in single plant. Dioecious means male and female are found in separate plant. About dioecious it is clear. It occurs in dioecious. It is very clear because dioecious means two different plants. It is definition says. Cross pollination takes place between two different plants. So all dioecious plant can show cross pollination. But what about monoecious? Monoecious can show or cannot? Now we have to examine. Monoecious show self cross pollination or not? Imagine this is a monoecious plant. Monoecious means male and female are found in single plant. Delete this, then make it male. Delete this female part. Remove this female part. So male, female are found in single plant. Similarly, here let female and lower part there is another male plant, male flower. Not plant, male flower is present. Let this is the male flower. Now, I have shown two monoecious plant because monoecious plant does not mean in your garden. If you enter into garden, monoecious plant is not single in number. We have discussed what is the example of monoecious. Monoecious example is castor, maize, coconut. Let maize. This is one maize plant. This is another maize because maize number is not one in whole world. In whole world, or when you enter into the garden or any field, in a paddy field or maize field, if you enter into maize field, maize is not single number. Hundreds, thousands of maize plants are present. Let this is number one maize plant. This is number second maize plant. In this maize plant, male female are found in single plant. In this maize plant, also male female are found in the single plant. The getonogamy, in case of getonogamy, it takes place between two different flower of same plant. Similarly, along with getonogamy, there is a chance two different monoecious. It is also monoecious. It is monoecious between two monoecious plants. Also, cross pollination takes place. But in a single monoecious plant, the cross pollination cannot take place. So that's why two different monoecious should be there for occurrence of cross pollination. So that's why cross pollination can take place in both monoecious and dioecious. So that's why what are the important features you have to remember? Self pollination takes place in a single plant. Cross pollination takes place between two different plants. Self pollination are two types, autogamy and getonogamy. Autogamy takes place between in a single flower, not between, in a single flower. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower. Getonogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of two different flower but same plant. And only monoecious. Here there is only bisexual, no unisexual. Here unisexual, only monoecious. Here unisexual, both monoecious, dioecious, means increasing, in increasing order. Only bisexual, unisexual, but monoecious, bisexual, unisexual, monoecious as well as dioecious. So this completes your different types of pollination. But if you look at the getonogamy, this heterogamy is very important. Maximum time this one question comes from this part about the heterogamy characteristic. If you look at the heterogamy, compare autogamy and heterogamy, both are self because you have written single plant, both are taking place in a single plant. So autogamy and heterogamy both are self. But now tell me, which one is more pure? If you come to autogamy, transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower, it is pure autogamy, pure. It is pure self-pollination. But heterogamy, two different flowers are involved. So that's why it is not complete self-pollination. So that's why heterogamy is called as a genetically self. Genetically, this question comes. Genetically self-pollination, but functionally cross-pollination. Functionally cross-pollination. So heterogamy is genetically self. Heterogamy is genetically self. Genetically means a gene. If you look at these two flowers, heterogamy takes place between two different flowers. These two different flowers born in one plant. Yes or no? So in one plant, the gene remains same. Just like in my body, if you take a cell from my brain, if you take a cell from my foot, all the cells in my body contain the same gene. Similarly, in this plant, whether the flower is upper or whether the flower is lower, there is no problem. All the flowers in a single plant means the gene present here is same as gene present here. So that's why heterogamy is genetically self but functionally cross. Why it is called functionally cross? Because two different flowers are involved, just like in cross pollination, two different plants are involved. So heterogamy is genetically self but functionally cross pollination. This completes your different types of pollination. Now we will move towards the contrivances of self-pollination. Now self and cross-pollination completed. You have to write by yourself what are the difference between autogamy and heterogamy. Clearly I have explained. Clearly watch the video and write the difference. What are the main features of autogamy and what are the main features of heterogamy and genogamy. Now come to contrivances. Contrivances of self-pollination. Contrivances of self-pollination. Contrivances means causes. Causes of self-pollination. Contrivances. Causes of self-pollination. Or what are the reason? Reason behind self-pollination. Contrivances, causes or reason behind self-pollination. Means what are the conditions in plant which make sure that self-pollination will occur. Number one is bisexuality. Bisexuality. If a flower is bisexual, then autogamy takes place. Already you have discussed. These are just revision. Bisexuality. Number one. Second is homogamy. Homogamy. And third is called cleistogamy. Cleistogamy. Very important. Listen carefully. Because sometimes this comes as a 2 mark or 3 mark in your NEET, in your board exam as well as your MCQ type question in NEET. So first is bisexuality. Bisexual flower, also called as a hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite. Bisexual means a flower contains both stamen and carpel. Sepal, second part is petal, third part is stamen, last part is carpel. Already we have discussed what is autogamy. It is a type of self-pollination. And we are discussing about causes of self-pollination, contrivances of self-pollination. What is autogamy? Tell me. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower. And a same flower means flower is bisexual. Bisexual. Autogamy only takes place in bisexual. So it says first condition, first cause. If a flower is bisexual, then chance of reaching pollen grain at the stigma is maximum. It is not always mandatory. Other type of pollination can take place. But if bisexual, autogamy chance is more. So more chance of autogamy. So that's why it is the first cause. If a flower is bisexual, then self-pollination is maximum chance. Second, what says homogamy? Homo means same. Homo means same. What is homogamy? We'll discuss. But come to this, it is related with this bisexual. It is observed, if a flower is bisexual, autogamy takes place. Yes or no? We have discussed this. If a flower is bisexual, then autogamy takes place. But it is not always. What happens? Sometimes in a bisexual flower, stamen and carpel present. This is the stamen, this is the carpel. Instead of presence of both, even both are present, sometimes the nature not allows. Sometimes this stamen mature earlier than carpel. This stamen mature earlier. It become mature earlier or fast as compared to this. And when it become mature fast, it will produce pollen fast and it will release. But at that time, the stigma is not able to receive because stigma is very small or immature. So that happens in bisexual flower. It does not mean bisexual always show autogamy. So in bisexual flower, sometimes there is this disturbance. Sometimes there is a maturation problem. Someone mature earlier than other, so it leads to disturbance in self-pollination. So self-pollination cannot occur. So that's why second condition is homogamy. Homo means same. So same means both should mature at the same time. Both should be present. If present bisexual, if both mature, not present, if mature at the same time, that is called homogamy. So what is homogamy? Condition in which stamen and carpel mature at the same time. This is 1 mark question. Stamen and carpel mature at the same time. 1 mark question direct come. Condition in which stamen and carpel mature at the same time. Mature at same time. That is called as homogamy. So bisexual flower should be bisexual. Second condition, after bisexual, there should be homogamy, mature at the same time. Then only your self-pollination takes place. Third is cleistogamy. Cleistogamy is very important. We will discuss in detail. What is cleistogamy? So two important terms we have completed. Number one is autogamy. Second is heterogamy. Autogamy completed. Contrivances we are discussing. First is bisexuality, and second is homogamy. Homogamy we have completed. The third contrivance is called as a cleistogamy. Sometimes only cleistogamy comes as a short note, 2 mark or 3 mark question in your board exam. So third is very important. What is cleistogamy? Before going to cleistogamy, first you have to know about flower. All of you know, all the flowers, what you see in your environment, all the flowers are produced from a floral bud. What is floral bud? The closed flower or immature flower, like this. In all plants which are producing flower, you find a structure like this, a closed flower, closed condition. Just like you can find in every flowering plant. Just before blooming of a flower, opening of flower, flowers generally open in early morning, 4 or 3 o'clock in the morning, early morning. But before, in the evening time, you find flowers are like this, closed. And in the early morning, the flowers open like this. Their parts separate. Similarly, here I have shown one bud, floral bud. It is the closed condition of a flower, or it is the immature flower. And with passage of time, the parts of flower open and it become a complete open flower like this: sepal, petal, stamen and carpel. Now you can see this flower and this flower. This is the closed flower, it is called floral bud, and this is the complete open flower. And the process of opening is called anthesis. So what is anthesis? The process of opening a flower. This is for entrance, NEET, not for board. Anthesis is the process of opening a flower. And after anthesis, the stamen and carpel, if it is a bisexual flower, stamen and carpel both present. Stamen and carpel exposed to the environment. They are open to all. So that's why pollination can take place. But In addition to this type, another type of flower are present. What happens? In second type of flower, sometime stamen, carpel, everything present, but they do not open like this. Some flowers are present which do not open due to disturbance or abnormal condition in sepal and petal. Due to abnormal condition in sepal and petal, here we can say sepal petal are open and all the parts are exposed. This is the open flower. But sometimes due to this sepal petal do not open, such that it make the flower completely closed inside a chamber, inside a protective cover. So that's why two type of flower are possible. Some are closed flower. These are the closed flower and these are the open flower. The closed flower are called as a cleistogamous flower. Cleistogamous flower. And the open flower, this type of flower are called cleistogamous flower. Open flower are called as a chasmogamous flower. Chasmogamous flower. So flower are two types. One is cleistogamous flower, another is chasmogamous flower. If a flower is open, chasmogamous. If a flower is closed, that is called as a cleistogamous flower. But important thing, here the stamen carpels are exposed. Here stamen carpel are closed inside. So that's why what is the main difference? Here the pollen grain which are produced, it can be transferred to a separate or different flower. But the pollen grain which are produced here cannot be come out, or from outer side the pollen grain cannot enter. The pollen grain from outside cannot enter and pollen grain from inside cannot come out. So that's why in this closed flower, always both sexes are present, stamen and carpel are present. Otherwise, the reproduction is not possible. Imagine if only stamen is present. Let in a closed flower only stamen is present. In a cleistogamous flower only stamen is present, no carpel. Then how reproduction is possible? They cannot transfer the pollen grain to out. Similarly, only female is present, no male is found. Then pollen grain cannot enter. So that's why God created this cleistogamous flower in such a way that they are closed, but there is no problem with respect to reproduction because both stamen and carpel present. So that's why cleistogamous flower, first condition, cleistogamous flower are bisexual. Cleistogamous flower are bisexual, but chasmogamous flower can be bisexual or unisexual. Both type possible. Chasmogamous can be two types, unisexual or bisexual, but cleistogamous are always bisexual and they are closed. And this condition is called cleistogamy. Condition is called cleistogamy. So now tell me, in cleistogamous flower, which pollination will take place? Self-pollination or cross-pollination? If self-pollination, then which type? Autogamy or heterogamy? If you look at this flower, already we have discussed, as it is a bisexual flower, pollen grain produced from this flower cannot come out because it is closed. So that's why pollen grain from this stamen can reach at the stigma of same flower only. So that's why cleistogamous flower are invariably autogamous. Invariably autogamous. There is no chance of other pollination. Cleistogamous flower can show only autogamy. Yes or no? Autogamy means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower. So cleistogamous flower are invariably autogamous. Invariably, there is no variability. There is no other chance. Invariably autogamous. And another important thing, as these flowers are closed, air cannot enter to transfer the pollen grain. Water cannot enter. Animal also cannot enter. No animal also cannot enter. So that's why in this type of flower, pollinating agent is not required. Pollinating agent are not required. Any agent like air, water, these are called agents which helps in pollination. These agents cannot enter. So that's why the cleistogamous flower don't depend on pollinating agent or external agent. Pollinating agent is not required. Sometimes question comes, in case of cleistogamous flower, pollinating agent is required. True or false? Pollinating agent is not required. pollinating agent, because any agent cannot enter. Whatever, air, water, they cannot enter because it is closed. So Cleistogamous flower only shows autogamy. There is only autogamy. Autogamy takes place. So that's why there is no chance of cross pollination. But what are the important features about Cleistogamous? If you discuss, what are the list of the characters of Cleistogamous flower? First, they are bisexual. Already we have discussed. Bisexual. If they become unisexual, they will die. There will be no reproduction. So bisexual and small. This will be small. As they are closed, they are generally small. Bisexual, small, and do not produce. Don't produce nectar and smell. Nectar and smell. There is no smell, no fragrance. They cannot produce smell and they cannot produce nectar. What is nectar? Nectar is a sugar, sweet solution, which finally converted into honey, just like honeybees, insects. They collect this sugar solution, nectar, and make or convert it into honey. So nectar is just a previous stage of honey. It is a sugar solution. So this nectar and a smell cannot be produced because no one can enter inside. So that's why Cleistogamous flower, first, if Cleistogamy comes as a 2 or 3 mark question, first you have to write what is Cleistogamy. Cleistogamous flower are the closed flower, and these are bisexual, small, do not produce nectar and smell, and they do not depend on pollinating agent because they are closed, and they are invariably autogamous. Cleistogamous, and this condition is called Cleistogamy. And a Cleistogamous flower are found generally in 3 plants. Example you have to remember for NEET, but for both it is not important. Example you have to remember Viola, Oxalis, and a Commelina. These 3. Viola, Oxalis, and a Commelina. These 3 plants show Cleistogamous. But the last one, Commelina, shows both Chasmo and a Cleisto. Chasmo means open, Cleisto means close. In the Commelina, because it starts with C, both C can be present here. Chasmo, Cleisto. But these 2 are only Cleisto. All are Cleisto, but this one contains both Chasmo and Cleisto. Commelina shows both Chasmo and Cleistogamous flower. So this is all about your contrivances of self-pollination. We have discussed bisexuality, homogamy, and Cleistogamy. Cleistogamy is important for your entrance as well as for your boards. Okay, thank you. This much for today.